Hi, Capricorn rising sign. Here is your weekly forecast starting on the 24th of March until the 31st of March. So, this week is very interesting. Your fourth house is getting stronger. So, first of all, you had the Sun and Neptune conjunction last week, and that's important because the story of last week is kind of like carrying on this week as well. So, the fog that you had potentially with the Sun and Neptune conjunction about where you belong, what your family situation is, where to move, and so forth, this is going to get clearer. So you had that Sun and Neptune meeting point in the fourth house, and that's a kind of like a domestic fog archetype. Maybe you felt a little bit unanchored at home, or there was a lack of clarity regarding a family matter, or even a property issue that might have showed up. But on March 25th, the Sun hit Saturn in the very same fourth house. So the dream ends and the construction work basically begins. So this is the day you stop feeling your way through family dynamics and start setting the house rules. Or maybe you allowed the boundaries to kind of get washed away last week. Saturn is asking you not to do such thing. So Saturn is trying to help you fix the literal or figurative leak in your foundation. Now, a conjunction is often a meeting point. So Saturn is being the ruler of your first and second house, while the Sun rules your eighth house. So from a second and eighth house point of view, this might be about we sit down and then we decide, okay, we are going to be, for example, refinance our property, or we are going to be selling our property. But also from a first and eighth house point of view, this would be all about you having to make changes in your life so that internal foundation is a lot better. So getting stronger and potentially working on your bravery as well. Now, I think the big news is March 27th. Your ruler, Saturn, in your fourth house forms a sextile to Pluto in your second house. So, firstly, you need to think back to January 2020 because we had a conjunction between them two, and that happened in your first house. It really feels like that you were the one being restructured since 2020 and you were somehow stripped down to your essence. And this could have showed up in many ways, losing your job, losing a loved one, for example, or simply just started mastering the self, empowering yourself, becoming, a true essence of your core, basically. But now Pluto is in your second house, the house of money, and Saturn is in your fourth house, the house of real estate. So imagine that you are taking this financial power, the hard-won self-worth you have been building since 2020, and finally anchoring it into a physical asset. Finally, you have to be able to feel more secure in your own skin. This is the week when you need to turn earned income into equity. Like, let's say you have been saving to buy a home or improve your property. This is the green light, basically. You are building the physical fortress that protects the new person you have become. And hopefully, you have been doing the work since 2020. And I would love to hear what you have been doing since then, because this sextile could be potentially kind of a little bit of a winner. Also, on the 27th, we have got quite a vital alignment. West and North Node are meeting up in your third house, and this is the sacred mission combo. With Vesta, which is the planet of devotion, the North Node is your growth. So, this is about your voice. This is about rewiring your mindset, being part of a local community. So I think you are singularly devoted to a specific skill, for example, or I'm going to be writing a book, or I'm going to be participating in a local project. The Northland is trying to pull you to find growth through how you communicate, how you write, how you think. And Vesta is just asking you to be devoted. So maybe you have to be reworking your daily schedule a little bit. Maybe you have to be committing to a specific study. Maybe the way you speak or think is your path to the future right now. So it's about also having to protect your mental focus. Potentially, you have to be protecting that from kind of like invaders, such as parents, family, and so on. Also, we have got a Mars and Pallas Athene conjunction happening in your second house, sorry, third house, and that's a tactical strategy. So this is about because Vesta is focusing on how you communicate, and this Mars and Pallas Athene is planning a confrontation in a way, but we are engineering our messages. We start seeing the pattern in how people respond to you. Maybe you are dealing with a sibling or a local contract, but this tells you not to use force. Just go with the flow. It's about navigating your neighborhood and your inbox with a little bit more strategic finesse as well. Um, it's about being three moves ahead of everyone else in the room because I know what they are going to say. I know what they are going to think, and so forth. So it's about prepping your mind, basically. Now, we do have got a bit of a seventh house stellium. Last week, we also spoke about the Jupiter, Apollo, Isis, Eros. Now, Sappho joins the club as well. So maybe your spouse or a business partner feels like kind of like a safe harbor. This is about a reconnection, putting the pieces back together, or reclaiming your own power in your partnership as well. I mean, what happens in your fourth house that you have been building those walls, but the seventh house is asking you to let someone into your sanctuary. So maybe this is also about deciding in a way how you are going to be finding your romantic partner, how you are going to be fixing up certain type of connections. Now, Venus is about to enter the fifth house this week as well, and immediately it runs into a square with Juno. Venus in the fifth house wants pleasure, creativity, joy. Juno in your second house is so committed to financial independence and stability. So, while Venus wants to splurge on a creative hobby or wants to go on a date, but we have made a vow. We have made a vow that we are going to be saving, like watching out for our saving account. So what am I doing? This is a square, so this is a conflict. Or imagine Venus in Taurus wants to buy a luxurious item, let's say, or it wants to pay an expensive holiday. But Juno is reminding you, yes, you made a commitment to your financial security, that you are going to be saving money and so forth. So Juno is telling you not to compromise your second house fortress. So this is an internal struggle there. I mean, this might be connected to children as well. Children want something, and then you might be scratching your head that this is slightly bit expensive. So that's why Saturn, in a way, wants to audit a lot in your home life. Let's say if something breaks, most likely something for many Capricorn rising signs, something has broken down at home. And then how are we going to fix that up, basically? And I'm going to have to come up with a financial strategy. And definitely, there is a lot of potential growth for you in your messages. Let's speak with devotion. You might want to be sharing your ideas with others, and potentially, you are able to this week, especially if you plan it out. But protecting your resources this week while having fun is also crucial. But let's do certain type of fun activities that might not be that costly. At the same time, I think it's important to mention that, listen to the general forecast because I'm giving you a lot more information there as well. And that could be very useful when you try to put that into your own natal chart. But also, I'm wondering with Venus moving into your fifth house, if you're going to start loving a little bit more yourself, and Saturn in the fourth house wants to work through your internal, foundation as well. It's about going after something that you desire, going or getting someone, that you have fancied for a while, or potentially even with Mars, which is, or Venus, which is your career planet. Your career can slightly take off as well. And maybe this is a less paid job, but it gives you more of a room to kind of wiggle around. So potentially there is, success opportunities here this week as well. And I feel like you can even become more attractive in the eyes of others. So Venus might be increasing your sexual desire quite significantly too. Most of the planets are at the bottom of your chart. So this is often more of a withdrawing type of energy. Like we don't want to socialize as much and so forth. But your social planet is Mars, and Mars is making that conjunction to Pallas Athene. So maybe it's crucial just to kind of get mentally stimulated because it's in the third house. With Venus in the fifth house, potentially you might meet, for example, a lover, someone who is a bit more exciting, flirtatious, kind of like sweeping you off of your feet as well. So good luck, Capricorn, and I will see you next week. Take care. Bye bye.